Hi, this is Shane Starr, and today I'm going to talk about FE and FI. Last video I made, I focused on the axis between SE and SI, and I expressed disappointment in the way socionics in particular tends to put those against each other, both in test questions and in general, so that let's say you are leading in one of those functions, and that'll mean that you're good at it and you value it highly. And the other one you'll still be good at, but you won't value as much. And I can't get around that because I feel like I value both very strongly, and I think I'm really good at both of those. SE and SI, that is. Today I'm going to talk about a similar dichotomy or problem, and that's between FE and FI. Now, traditionally, those are pretty easy to define. I think most people would see FE as a group or society values. People who lead with FE would probably adopt their group or family or even society values to the extent that they may lose themselves and not even know who they are apart from their group. Much like a typical to unhealthy Enneagram 3 person might do, lose yourself in the moment or the zeitgeist or whatever you want to call it. And then at the other extreme, you have FI, personal values, morals, preferences. And I think people leading with that to an extreme would be like an unhealthy Enneagram 4, maybe. Someone who is so strong in their personal feelings that they can't tell when the logic is against them. Case in point, like in sports. It's one thing to root for your favorite team. It's another to be unrealistic in terms of what that team will do. Someone with super strong FI, I think, won't be able to tell the difference between who you hope wins and who you think will win. Those are like the love is blind people. And likewise, back to FE for a moment, they have the opposite twist where they're blind because they don't even know who they really are or what they want. All they see is the group values or the ones they were raised with. So I think at either extreme, FE and FI users will encounter some difficulties. Now, I have this piece of paper I got off the internet. I'll put its authors in the description of the video. And this is 8 differences between FI and FE. And I'm going to go through these myself to try to figure out which one I have more of. And maybe it'll help other people as well. And in the meantime, hopefully it won't be too long and boring of a video and I go through these things myself. Now, I think I want to say at the outset, this is one of those common sense things where it's like, I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to know that everyone has both of these. You cannot be a functional human being at home, at work, anywhere if you don't have any personal preferences or values, and neither can you be functional if you have no way to work well with a group. Now, I know that there's a lot of people out there, myself probably among them, that has at least one or the other of these things as a polar function. But, I could challenge the whole notion of a complete blind spot. We could maybe call it a polar function or a blind spot, but anyone truly missing any of the 8 functions wouldn't be able to function well as a human being. Anyway, back to FE and FI. Let's take a look at this nice, concise, great little article. And we look at the differences between FE and FI. And the purpose of this video, again, is to kind of use myself as a guinea pig, so to speak, to help other people struggling with which one of these they have. And I've gone back and forth. I'll admit, there's been times I've been 100% convinced I have FI. Other times 100% convinced I had FE, and the resulting functional stack was problematic in each of those ways, which is why I ended up with an entirely different self-understanding of my own parts. And I've already gone through that in other videos. But again, back to the point. So number 1 out of 8. FI prioritizes individual values while FE prioritizes group values. This is a tough point. Maybe for some people, they can easily point out which one they value more. I think for myself, I value my own values more than the groups. I'm wearing a beanie in the summertime. I'm wearing red and black. I like to match all my stuff. It's kind of weird. I'm a little bit weird. I'm okay with that. When I walk out, I'm not going to look like anyone else. No one's going to match their clothes as meticulously as me. And I don't really give a shit whether they like it or not. I do this for me, not for anyone else, not to fit in. For number 1 alone, I would say FI 100%, not FE. If I was FE, I would want to match the group, do what other people are doing. And my style is my own, from me, about me, and for me. Okay, so much for number 1. Let's look at number 2. FI forms opinions relative to self, while FE forms opinions with group in mind. I don't see how you could do either of these in a vacuum. Okay, like I said, I feel like I'm as much slanted towards FI versus FE as one could get, even though I've understood myself fairly recently the other way. There's reasons for that. It's like going on a journey. You end up at a lot of pit stops before you get to your final destination, and I have to own those pit stops. And it might be embarrassing or whatever, but the facts are the facts, and the facts don't care about our feelings, embarrassment being one of them. But back to the point, number 2, FI forms opinions relative to self, while FE forms opinions with group in mind. We all do both. I don't even think this is a debatable point. All of our opinions. Okay, even my unique style is still made from popular brands and regular colors. We're limited. We might be free, but we're limited insofar as our choices go. So the whole spectrum of choice is partly from the group. And maybe I do proclaim to dress and be unique, but I'm not going to run out naked or something, that's not, there's a limit to how much you're going to be individual versus how much you're going to have the group in mind. So number 2, that's all I have to say about that. Number 3, FI is more aware of self, while FE is more aware of others. The problem I have with number 3 is whether you're aware of yourself or aware of others more, I don't think we can really know. I think I know myself, but I thought I knew myself a year ago when I was typing myself differently, and 2 years ago when I typed myself differently from there. And I think if anyone viewing this video is honest with themselves, they're going to admit, maybe not publicly like me, but they're going to admit to themselves they've had doubts about their types. I'm not going to mention any names here, but there's some very well-known people in the community whom I've talked with personally, and they have doubted their types. And I think that goes without saying. So how can we know how self-aware we are versus how aware of others we are? Case in point, I personally think I'm more aware of myself than I am of others, but I thought I understood myself before, and I was wrong. And I've definitely misunderstood others. Particularly, I've thought ill intentions on the part of others, and it has ended up being an accident. Like something's missing. It's like someone jacked me. Someone took my shit. Like, this isn't cool. And then I find out that I misplaced it, or something of that nature. Like you can never really know the intentions of others. Maybe you guess and you're right more than others. But so again, number 3, it kind of breaks down, because even though truly FI is more aware of self, FE is more aware of others, there's no objective scientific way to measure that and know for sure. You can doubt your skill in one and actually be better at than you think you are, and you can think you're great at something and be wrong all the time, and no one has the heart to tell you. Okay, let's go to number 4. Halfway done. FI knows what they're feeling, while FE may mix up their feelings with the feelings of others. I think I already touched on this. I think it's more of a prioritizing. You know, when I'm at a party and I want to go home, I'm tired. I don't feel like saying hi and giving hugs and kisses to people I don't even know, but they're part of my family or extended family, and it's expected of me. I know if I leave early, people are gonna feel like it's weird or wonder, like, hey, why is he leaving? What's going on? Ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't give a shit. I'm out of there. Once I've had enough, I'm out. Like, I can't do it. I'm gone. Same with a phone call. Same with anything. If I'm done, I'm done. That's it. I know other people, some people who I'm very close to, who are not like that. Maybe on the Enneagram, they're number 2s. And so they might be tired, they might be wanting to get home, but they'll find a way to power through a social situation and stay until they're the last ones to leave. The same way I can power through making my room just right so that I can relax. Because if it's not just right, I'm freaking out. Like, if there's a spot on the wall, I'm not going to bed till I clean it. If there's a problem with my clothes, I'll turn around and go back, rather than just go to work and forget about it. So the same way that in my physical environment, again, I think this is more SI, but people could say it's SE. The way I can naturally I'm going to power through no matter what it takes. The FE people will power through social situations no matter what it takes. And I think if you're an FI user, you don't have that energy. I can be the most wonderful, charming, great person you've ever met for 15, 20 minutes. Once my tank is empty, I'm done. I have nothing to say. It's like an on-off switch. It's really weird. But for a while, I can hang with anyone. That's why I'm so good at leasing apartments. I can connect with people. I know how to do it. It's just my energy for that isn't the same as physical energy. Like when it comes to something I care about, like changing my environment or finishing a workout or something like that. All right. So I think FI is more in tune with their own feelings. FE more has the superpowers of being able to get with the group's feelings regardless of their personal feelings, which if you're an FE user, it's going to be weaker. Okay, number 5. FI is highly empathetic and when it can relate to another's experience, while FE is highly sympathetic. We can make a whole video about the empathy versus sympathy debate. I'm just going to skip this and say both can do both. It's just the way they do it. If an FE person sees someone crying, it'll make them sad even if they don't really know what's going on. An FI person will need to know more before those feelings come to surface, and if I see someone crying just for no reason, like it doesn't touch me at all. Like I'm kind of like a robot when it comes to that. Like I'm just like, huh? Now, if I know that something really bad happened to them and I can't relate, it's like the midway point. And if I can relate, then yes, I'll be sad with them and I can understand. So sympathy, empathy, if you're trying to figure out whether you're FI or FE, I wouldn't even go there. I would say that FI users relate it all back to themselves. Like when someone is telling me about a problem, and again, I think there's some SI in here, but I always relate it to something I've been through. You know, like someone's going through a breakup. Yeah, I remember when I was with someone, it was kind of the same situation. And here's why. And here's what I did that didn't work. Here's what I did that did work. And I can get too preachy, you know, Enneagram 1 style. Like I'll give them a whole lecture when all they wanted was someone to listen to them. I'm guilty of that. Also, it can look like I'm just turning it into something about me, which again is an FI thing more than an FE thing. And in my mind, I'm just talking about something I know, which is myself, with the ultimate goal of helping them. But I think more often than not, people don't see it that way. They just see me turning it into a discussion about myself. All right, so sympathy, empathy, they can go either way. Okay, number 6, FI desires uniqueness while FE wants to fit in. This can be an easy coin to flip, or pick one. I'll say I care more about uniqueness than I do fitting in. My style's my own, about me, for me, by me, the whole thing, like I've said. But I don't want to be so weird that let me put it this way. Case in point, I remember people used to think like I'm an Enneagram 3 because I dress in bright clothes. I even understood myself as that type before. No longer. It's still in my tri-type, but this is about FI and FE, not Enneagram. But case in point, a big part of that was that I wore yellow a lot. I still wear yellow sometimes. But people would think, oh yeah, that's FE, that's Enneagram 3, he wears yellow. It's like yellow for a business person in real estate, like that's not FE, that's not Enneagram 3 either. That's, if anything, it's Enneagram 4, which I'm not a 4, but I'm relating it more to 4. And that's FI, because no one in the right mind would be trying to make $1 million deals wearing a fucking yellow coat. Okay, like you got to have FI to be about that. If you have FE, try wearing a bright yellow blazer to work. If you have FE, you're probably not going to be able to do that. You're going to get it on. You're going to be like, fuck, no, I can't do this. If you're FI, you'll be like, hey, I like it. I don't give a shit. I don't care what anyone says. It's me. I like it, or whatever bright color. It might not be yellow for you. So as far as uniqueness and fitting in, again, even if you are on the unique side, you don't want to be so weird as to draw negative attention to yourself. And if you want to fit in, you don't want to fit in so much that you become wallpaper. So everyone has everything, but I think this is a good one to analyze and ask yourself, what do you care more about, fitting in or being unique? I've always been an individualist at heart. FI big for me here. Like this just kills any idea of FE in my head, this 0.6. So this is a good one for you to think on your own. Number 7, FI feels watched while FE feels invisible. We just talked about drawing negative attention versus being wallpaper. So do you feel like people are talking about you behind your back because of your mannerisms or fashion or whatever? Or do you feel like no one notices you? If it's the first, you're probably FI. If it's the latter, you're probably FE. I never feel invisible, but I do feel some of the things I say or do get attention, not always positive. Or sometimes positive, but then there's jealousy going on. So number 7, FI feels watched while FE feels invisible. I think that's partly the feelings that create the actions, but then the actions create the feelings. FE is losing its own personal values for the purpose of others. So of course they're going to feel more invisible. Oh, you guys are having chocolate ice cream? Okay. And it's just like their own personal feelings, whatever it was, they're barely aware of it themselves, let alone making it vocal to anyone else. For me, it's just like, no, I'm not going that way. I won't have any, or get me vanilla, All right, next up. Number 8. FI with low TE can be very blunt in sharing opinions, while FE with low TI may be more passive aggressive. This is a great point, but I find it difficult to unpack and really analyze with clarity, because someone with FE last versus someone with FI first or second, even though that's about as different as you can be, there's going to be some weird synergy there, that like low FE can look like high FI and vice versa. High FI can look like low FE in a demon state. So even though this is a great point by these guys, I don't recommend trying to type yourself by how blunt your opinions are. I mean, I know lead FE people who are very blunt in their opinions, but they do it on the side of society. You know, they'll call people out for doing something wrong in front of the whole group, like very blunt, very to the point of being mean, and they're lead FE users. So you can't just equate bluntness with FI. You know, there's a lot of lead FI people who have strong opinions, and you'll never know it because they're, you know, maybe Enneagram 9s are too shy or quiet to say anything. So number 8, it's a great point theoretically, systematically, but I think in practice, pragmatically, it's not that useful. So that brings us to the end. I'm pretty confident that I'm an FI user, but I'm also 100% certain that all of us use both FE and FI. I would place it under TE for myself, but more on TE and TI later. In the meantime, well, that gives you a clue. Next time I'm going to talk about TE and TI, and I want to say a special shout out to Jack in Socionics for really hitting home a point to me when I was trying to explain just simple thinking over feeling. And he rightly pointed out that I was using a TE example, not a TI example. And I was thinking to myself, I didn't like hearing that, but he was right. And I'll just close by saying, whether you're an FI or an FE user, the facts don't care about your feelings. And we all want truth, whether it's pleasant or not. Anyway, that's all I got. Peace out.